Hi there. Today we have another fantastic conversation for you. We have a wonderful guest. We will be talking with Abigail White, who is a proud biracial queer medical intuitive. She's a registered nurse with an advanced education and certification in pediatrics and adult life saving and trauma. But she's also an intuitive healer. She's been intuitive her whole life. She really was in tune with the things around us, with the energies, with the vibrations, with the light. Maybe some people thought that she may be a bit crazy, a bit kooky, but obviously now we know that there is so much more in the world that we can't necessarily scientifically explain, or we don't know how to explain it yet. And yet we look into the scientific explanations because Abigail also has a degree in neuroscience, so she brings the wealth of energy, intuition, vibration, neuroscience, all sorts of good and juicy bits. And we talk about how to elevate, how to get to the next level, how to reach to something more exciting, to the advanced levels of whatever it is that we want for ourselves. She talks about her 1% method and teaches us some practical insights and tips and tricks on how we can do that without burnout, without pushing ourselves too hard, without hustling all the time. So, without any further ado, I think this has been enough to tease you in and let you know what you're in for a treat. So, come on and join us and say hi to Abigail.
Before we speak to Abigail, I just want to remind you about our Patreon account where you can find us at Into Your Life podcast. This is a place where we share all those gold nuggets, and today we had a juicy gold nugget. This is a place where Lenka and myself, we will connect with you. We are bringing bonuses in as the membership grows. We'll be bringing more in. You can have conversations with us, and we'll be even doing a couple of live things, but that's in the future. This is growing and we really love the space. This is where we have tips. We are even sharing some old wonderful advice that we got from our beginning guests, so it saves you having to scroll down, look at all the old podcasts. We're bringing out little bits. You can access these ones for free on Patreon. The paid account is where you get those really brilliant gold nuggets. So come and join us in our community that we're growing. But now let's get back to this wonderful conversation with Abigail.
Hi, Abigail. Great to have you here with us.
Thank you for having me, ladies. It's brilliant to be here.
So excited. So, please, could you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and maybe give them a little bit of a teaser what is coming, what topics we may be covering today in our conversation?
Yeah, oh my gosh, I love talking about myself. My name is Abigail White. I am a medical intuitive. I am a professional registered nurse as like a trade as well. I'm a business owner. I'm a peak performance coach, and I would assume that our conversation would probably center around intuition, energy management, what I do to help people reach their top 1%, their best of the best, really putting them in a category that is a cut above the rest. It's a category that I'm well familiar with, as it's a standard I hold for myself in many, many aspects of my life, and has become kind of my zone of genius in addition to healing the body. And really I'm at this beautiful intersectionality between what it means to be the best of the best with peak performance, peak health, and really having cleaner, clearer mindsets, a really beautiful, high optimal energy level that makes people go, make that make sense. Like, how in the world are you doing all of these things, accomplishing all of these things? Like, are you tired? And being able to answer, heck no, this is like my life and I love it and it's beautiful and it's amazing and all these opportunities are just flowing to you. And one of the things that I absolutely love about my work is the fact that it's not just woo-woo propaganda. It is 100% based in science. I studied neuroscience. I obviously studied nursing. I have a bachelor's in both. Initially thinking that I was going to go and save the world as a doctor and realized that doctors don't do much nowadays. No, I shouldn't say that. I work with many beautiful doctors, but to be honest, like as a nurse, I have found a place that truly puts you in a category that is very high stakes, and I love it and I thrive off it, and I know that I'm not the only one. So
I love it. But one thing that immediately jump in my mind is like, ooh, let's be careful. I don't want us to get in a situation. Is this like the hustle culture? Is this like, burn yourself out, push too hard? Because there could be a little bit of, be it the connotation with high performers, with, innovators, trailblazers, pushing yourself to the peak performance, that it has to come at the cost of regular burnout, sacrificing things that you can't have it all, that it has to be hard job, that you have to be part of the 5 a.m. club, and all these kind of prejudices and these expectations that we may have from what we've seen on social media, what some of the influencers have been imposing on us. But I don't have this energy from you. I don't get this energy from you that this is what you believe in. But I wanted to really jump in deep and put you on spot and be like, okay, tell me a little bit about how does it actually work to have all of this, to be able to perform, to really have all this energy and achieve all the things, and yet not be burnt out, not struggle with our health, not have to sacrifice our family or something like that, not have to subscribe to 5 a.m. club and be online all the time, switched on our devices. So please, could you put me and obviously our listeners as well on ease and tell us that there is another way?
oh my gosh. Yes, I love this question. Of course there's another way. There's always another way. And really this is the meat of the work that I do, is teaching people exactly what it is that you're talking about. No, I don't settle with the hustle culture, the like kill yourself just to make it. That to me sounds ridiculous. But what I also put into my clients' thought perspectives is, why is it that people tend to believe that the best of the best are the ones that burn themselves out? Would they be the best of the best if they did that? If you talk to, or if you've listened to the Fortune 500 CEOs, the top athletes, the elite Olympians, the really busy moms that are also entrepreneurs, the insane podcasters that are just killing it in their podcasting world, and also having all of these other things and activities that are going on, right? The best of the best obviously means something different to everybody, but what I have found is that when you talk to these individuals, they don't hold to that. You know what I mean? They don't hold to this burnout hustle culture, because otherwise they wouldn't be where they're at. And so it's really become my pleasure and the honor of my life to be able to teach people how to get to this place of understanding that to reach their peak potential, to have cleaner and killer mindsets, to be able to have this high level of energy and functionality that also equates to increased abundance and insane like pleasure in their life and wealth and all of these things, right? This ability to do and have all of these opportunities really comes from three really big categories. And they're the things that just permeate my work with all of my clients, whether they be in my group sessions, my one-to-ones, my private one-offs, things like that. And it comes down to emotionality, it comes down to identity, and it comes down to energy management. And these three things are absolutely pivotal in the foundations of understanding how it is that you can claim and create a space within yourself where energy work, your energy is actually able to be sustained on what seems like almost nothing. That's the crazy part. But really, it's not it's not nothing, it's everything. Because when you understand yourself so well that you know exactly what you're feeling when you feel it, you know exactly who you are at every given moment, including when stressors are high, when you're going through a life change, when you're realizing that who you are right now actually has become too small, and you're like, I want to become bigger, or because I know that there are some listeners out there that are probably thinking this too, where they're like, my life has become too big and I need to make it smaller. Because there are some people that are out there, right? That they're like, I don't really want to be the Fortune 500, but that doesn't mean you can't be the best of the best of where you're at and what you want for yourself. But it does still require what it is that I'm talking about. Understanding who you are to the ground, and then really understanding how to manage your energy. And I do this through a form of meditation that is, I would say, much more advanced than what most people are taught. I am not teaching you passive meditation by any means. This is not mindfulness meditation. This is meditation with a purpose. This is the powerful stuff. This is the stuff that you only learn when you are ready to get into this state of being that really gives you the excellence that everyone deserves.
And I love that. I love that so much, especially when you were talking about identity, because that's one thing that I've learned a while ago. It's, when we are really aligned with who we are and what we want, and we understand our values, we understand our beliefs, we understand our needs, then yes, even difficult things, even challenging things, even things that are outside of our comfort zone, that are maybe a bit unnatural for us, if we're introvert, maybe it is public speaking, maybe it is something that really puts us outside of the comfort zone. But if that's something that we truly want, we're aligned with it, we have intention for it, we feel the desire, we know that this is something that is so valuable, meaningful for us, it then becomes so much easier to actually challenge ourselves and step out of the comfort zone and do the difficult things and keep doing them. And they will become easier over time as we do them. But it's only if we really know why we do that and it's exactly what we want and what we need and what we have been here to be for. And I love that you touched on, that it doesn't have to necessarily be make it bigger, expand. Because we are still living in a world where there is still majority of the messages are telling us that we need those 5, 10, 50, 100, whatever income months, and we need six-figure business, and now we need even seven-figure business, and we need more and more and more. And what I'm seeing, more and more people actually need less and less and less. They just want more intuition, more alignment, more comfort, and more feeling right. And I think the energy that you give off and the way you talk about is just giving me the right kind of a vibe. Is like just exactly right. So you touch on the three things that people really need, and then we go with a bit of the meditation. I would love to know a little bit more about your meditation because I am a big fan of meditation. Not necessarily so, but I want to know a bit more about this kind of a bit more hardcore meditation. Can we call it that way? Uh, Compared to your usual, breathe in, breathe out, think about nothing, or body scan, mindfulness, which is great. But I want to know then maybe some of the, if you have other techniques on top of the meditation as well, if we can look at some of the practicalities, and if you can bring in some of the neuroscience. Myself, Natalie, huge neuroscience geeks, and we love a bit of the science in this world that could feel a bit woo-woo. We would love that.
Yeah. So I always start off with saying, guys, the past meditation is so boring. And don't get me wrong, like I started there, right? I started there the same way that everyone else does. I know that it holds a lot of merit and it has been very transformational for so many people. But once you get into it and understanding what meditation can do for you, you get to a point where stuff stops, you plateau, and you go, well, my brain can't get any silenter. And now I'm sitting here going, what else is there? And that's where I'm like, now you've hit the juicy spot. Because the what else is out there, that's what I teach. And I will also say that mindfulness meditation had its place. There was a time when there was not enough people who truly understood what their brains were saying when it said it. And they didn't have a great understanding of their subconscious. Now, now you hear it everywhere. Everybody's telling you. Your subconscious is telling you something, and if you could just listen in on it, it would tell you something. It'd tell you something important. And it's very true. But the way to truly harness and access your subconscious is not through silent, steady state passivity. It's actually through very structured and highly focused active meditation. And that's what I call it. I don't know if other people use that same term, active meditation. But what that simply means is that you don't go into the meditation with a simplistic goal. And the simplistic goal is always focus on your breath and don't focus on any one thought. Let any thought that comes through pass out. Now, when you start, this is obviously a helpful place to start, but once you reach that space of what else is there, you have to then go from this place of I'm trying to let all of it go out to getting into a space of creatorship. The example that I always give is God never said, well, I believe that I can make the world, or I believe that there is infiniteness, right? God said, no, let there be light, and there was light. God said, let the world exist. Here it is. Bloop. And there it is, right? So, because our souls are fractals of that same infinite creatorship, when you step into this space where you're testing your muscle of what it is to rise to a space where doubt leaves you, fear does not exist, and wonder excels within you to where you are in this state of constant and perpetual learning and curiosity, all of a sudden your entire world shifts. Now, you can't do this in and of itself on its own. If you don't have an understanding of your emotions when you feel them and accurately, now there are a lot of people out there who still believe that they're in Riley's mind. I don't know if you guys have seen Inside Out, the movie, the Pixar movie, but there are a lot of people out there who literally believe that they only have five emotions: happy, mad, sad, disgust, fear. That's literally all they believe that they have. When really they have a whole plethora of emotions that are so intrinsic to who they are. And they've been mislabeling them, and they have not been accurately addressing them when they come about. Now, also, they don't have any idea of who they are. They don't know what they like anymore. I mean, I always think about, I use a lot of movie references, guys. I think a lot about that scene in Runaway Bride. It was a 1990s movie. I'm probably dating myself, but it was a 1990s movie with Julia Roberts, and there was a scene where she just makes a bunch of eggs for herself, like a bunch of different types of eggs, and she's just sitting there, just eating one bite off of each plate, just trying to figure out what type of egg she actually likes. This is where we are today for so many people. I have so many clients when I ask them, so what is it that you're passionate about? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, what in the world do you not know what drives you, what you're passionate about, what it is that you want to like contribute to the world? I don't care what it is. I don't care if you want to be the best mom that there could ever possibly be, if you want to be the best podcaster that there has ever been, if you want to be the innovator that figures out the next steps in physics to create endless power for people so that we don't live beholden to these old, outdated systems that no longer work and are breaking every single day, right? So it doesn't matter where you want to go, but if you don't know who you are, then what I'm talking about here within energy management, this idea of really unlocking your subconscious from a very conscious place, doesn't even begin to work. Okay. So understanding this active goal that you have to set for yourself to reach a higher frequency, a higher vibration, because everything vibrates, everything has a frequency naturally. Science has proven this. You can actually go and measure the frequency of the human body, which is roughly around 5 hertz. This is lower than the frequency of the earth, which naturally gives off about a 7.83 hertz. Now, this is way, way lower than water, which is at the gigahertz, about 2.5 or so gigahertz. This is to like the thousandth of right power, to like 10 to the x 10 to the ninth power, whatever that is, right? So if you can reach this state of higher elevation through a very conscious goal, that allows you to get clearer, more aligned, just like we were talking about, Lenka, to allow for yourself to visualize clearly the steps needed and necessary to take you to your next place. And to also bring in that whole manifestation sector where you're like, I'm just letting things flow to me. You want to have a easier life where you're not having to hustle? Well, if you just allow for yourself to become the vibration or the frequency, if we want to call it that, of whatever it is that we are, the like calls to like. So it just has no other way but to come to you. Some opportunity will present itself, some door will open, some obstacle will move out of your way because it's no longer in alignment with you. You're no longer calling that to you. And from the standpoint of neuroscience, it's that unlocking of the brain's potential that so many scientists have been struggling to figure out. I'll be the first one to say, like, come find me, because I'll show you. I'll show you what's possible, right? When you are able to sit and do this. Now, one last point before I, because I know I talk too much, guys, is that part of that moving of frequency, part of it getting higher up has everything to do with getting your chakras into alignment. So this is where I'm really tapping deep into old knowledge that has truly been lost and is now being represented to us and allowing us to access it in a new way. And instead of operating as everything being separate, as all of the chakras being separate, I work with them all in alignment, all connected, and there's more than seven. So I'm going up to 39, 52. Like I'm far exceeding just the crown chakra. And when you do that, when your ability to hold that level of frequency and focus is attained, limitless, limitless potential.
We laugh when our guests talk. That's why you're here. We're here to listen to you. We're here to give you space. So please never apologize for talking and giving us all the wonderful, inspiring, juicy stuff. And one thing that you said it really struck me is when you're talking about kind of the manifestation and really putting it out there and visualizing and seeing and grabbing what we want. Just last week, I was at an event all about gratitude. A bit of a gratitude practice, figuring out how to be more thankful and saying thanks. But one thing that really hit me, and you touched on it, is the gratitude for things we want as if we already have them. It's the like, thank you for the exam that I just passed. Thank you for the new car that I just received, even though it's us manifesting and visualizing and putting it out there to the universe, these things we want, then added the practice of the gratitude and living in abundance and feel like I already have it. It already exists. I don't need to worry about it because it's coming my way. Like these two things connected together for me are like, oh my God, this is brilliant. Like I don't have to be just thankful and grateful for the things I genuinely have, which I am, but also for the things I want, because if I feel and behave and I genuinely am aligned with like this is what I'm getting and I'm grateful for it, it's gonna happen. So this is one thing I'm wanting to put out there, but I want to make sure that Natalie also gets a word in.
I'm loving what you're talking about, and yeah, this is stuff that really fascinates me, energy. And I'm a bit more of the woo woo, and Lenka is more the science and the brain. So I think we make a good balance. We have a little bit of each. He has a little bit of woo woo, I have a little bit of science. But as you were speaking about the energy and the connectedness, is Bruce Lipton came to mind. I don't know if you've heard of him. I've read his books. I really love what he's doing, and he talks very much about the energy, and I think it's quantum physics, bringing that in and really starting to understand us as humans, but not just the head what is it, the hip bone connects to the knee bone, that connects to the, not the biology and not just the physical person, but there's more than that. There's more. There's that energy. There's the environment that we're in. It's what are we putting out or bringing in, and everything is connected. And when you were speaking, I was like, yes, this is now we're talking my language. Now we're talking about us as there's so much more. We're not just these physical beings. There's so much more to us. And I love how you bring that in, and the extra hardcore meditation, really going in there and learning about that and challenging that, and the emotions. We have more than your basic 5 emotions. There's also the more than your basic 6 senses as well. And of course, so if there's more than 6 senses and more than 5 emotions, of course there's going to be more than 7 chakras. But I think it's you're also connecting the modern science with almost old school knowledge. Like you said, the chakras, the Indians have known about the chakras for like thousands of years. But here in Western, cultures, like, oh, I've just learned about the chakras. Well, that's not a new thing. Just because we're learning about it and reincorporating that into our lives, it doesn't mean that it's new. And it is and ancient cultures knew about energy. They knew how to live and connect and look at humans as more than just a toe or just a head or just an arm. There was so much more. So I really love how you bringing this in and introducing it. And you said it, is people are becoming more and more aware. They are becoming more aware that, hang on a minute, there is more. Why am I doing the 5 o'clock club when it doesn't suit me? I'm exhausted. I'm burning out. Why am I doing it? There's more. And just because it works for one person doesn't mean that it works for everybody else. It's not when you start connecting with energy and looking at who you are, it's not one size fits all, because we're all different. We're all unique, and everybody reacts and looks and wants different things in the world. Somebody might want that 7 or 8 figure income a year, and somebody else might just be really, really happy with a beautiful herb garden. Just neither one is right and neither one is wrong. It's just different. And I love how you really bringing that in and helping your clients to find that, because I think that as humans, we are lost. We've been told to do the hustle, to, the 9 to 5, be there, do this, have so many kids, produce this, buy the house, do this. And then at 60, you retire and then just go walking until you die. And there we go, index, life's over. But hang on a minute. No, we are so much more than that. So I really appreciate you bringing that in. But now, just on that, it's what got you started on this journey? Because I'm sure you didn't just sort of wake up one morning and think, that's where I'm going to go. What's got you interested in looking at energy, in finding a different way? What started you on this journey? Did you start out nursing and then go into neuroscience, or was it the other way around? But then bringing that energy and that intuition and really learning about self, how did you find your way to where you are now?
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny that you say it like that, of like, you didn't just wake up. Well, in my case, I actually did. I literally like came out of the womb and I was like, oh yeah, like here's the world as it is. And but the world as it is, how I was seeing it was so vastly different from how my peers were seeing it and how my family was seeing it. I was always that kid that could hear things others couldn't, see things others couldn't. Um, I knew what was going to happen before it happened, particularly if it was something that was going to hurt someone. There was plenty of times out on the schoolyard. I remember one time in particular where a kid, a friend of mine, wanted to go across the monkey bars, and I full out told him very emphatically and very passionately and that could not, he needed to not do it because he was going to get hurt. Well, of course, he didn't listen and ended up falling off the monkey bars and got very hurt. Luckily everything worked out okay ultimately, but um it was in that same moment, having seen what was going to happen before, trying to warn him, uh watching the event play out exactly as I saw it, and then transitioning very quickly into the nurturer. I ran to him, saw that he was bleeding, applied pressure, and I think at the time it was maybe about, I think it was like maybe in fourth grade, I think, fourth or fifth grade. And I then, because all the other kids were just very confused by what had just happened and very shocked, I was the one that ran to go and get a teacher and tell them what was wrong. And to be in that space as a kid, to hear when other people were lying, because I could just sense the vibration of the lie, even if they weren't aware of it. Like even if it was a lie of omission or something like that, I'm calling people out to such a degree because I was young and didn't know, and I didn't have any words to describe what it was. It became difficult as a kid. It becomes hard to make friends. It also becomes hard not to think that you're crazy. And in an effort to learn about what was going on with me, I threw myself into science, which was helpful because I already knew at 6 that my calling was medicine, that I was supposed to be a healer. That was why I was here. And I knew that I was here for a very, very special purpose, to show a new way, to create a new way that medicine can be done. And that is starting to come into fruition now through Breath of Life, my company. But there was always this nagging doubt for me that at the end, somebody was going to put me in a padded white room, tell me that I was crazy, and I wanted to be ahead of them before that happened. So it really just worked in my favor that I knew I was going to be a healer, because it meant that I didn't have to go too far outside of my path to my soul's mission. And so I studied science all through high school, became very good at it. Went to the best college, one of the best colleges on the East Coast, and specialized in neuroscience. It was the best because at that particular college, I went to Trinity College in Connecticut. Uh, we we were required to be have interdisciplinary degrees. And so my neuroscience degree, yes, made me study neurochemistry and all of the chemistries, really, all of the biologies, the physical, the organic, the psychology and all of that. So learning about the different personality types and disorders and all of that. But it also had me taking philosophy courses and studying the philosophy of time, studying the philosophy of movies and the old philosophers, everybody from Aristotle and Plato to Marx and um, and Kant. For as uh, very innovative as he was as a philosopher. Um, so from that point, I just said, okay, well, I've got all the information. Nobody can say I'm bipolar. Nobody can say I'm schizophrenic. I absolutely know what those things are, and I'm not it. But now I know that I need to focus on my medical career. I decided to study for the MCATs, and then by divine intervention, I on the day I was supposed to take the MCATs, I studied for over a year to take it. I just got the divine hit. Don't go. Don't do it. I had paid for it and everything, and I just didn't go. And that same day, I applied to nursing school. Only one, the best one I could find, and in the state that I lived here in Minnesota. And 2 weeks later, I was accepted. And I basically didn't look back. I did 4 years and got a bachelor's degree. I actually did an RN to bachelor. So I started working 2 years after, well, 3 years about after I had made the decision to pursue nursing, and started working as a nurse. And then, about a year into working as a nurse, I started being abused by my managers at the hospital that I worked at, very emotionally and verbally. And it threw me into my like dark night of the soul. Lo and behold, later I ended up figuring out it was the center of my Saturn return. So anybody who has any knowledge of that and how crappy that particular times of your life can be, it happened to fall right in there, nice and squishy. And so that actually led me to therapy. And because one of the things that I had as a stigma in my family, and even kind of to this day, is that Abigail can't have anything wrong with her. I can't be mentally unstable. I cannot be unhinged in any way. I have to be X, Y, or Z. And that's usually the best of the best. In whatever space I find myself. And that really was more of kind of a protection. I'm the eldest of four. So I was, and the rest of my siblings are all boys. They're my brothers that I love dearly, but I was the second mama a little bit. So it was a natural role for me. And one that I didn't take lightly. I actually excelled in this sort of pressure, and I enjoyed it, and I started putting that onto myself. And so when I got to this place, it was quite dark. I was like, no, no, this can't be me. I have not worked this hard to get to this place. Gosh dang it. And and so through, once again, divine intervention, through going into therapy, I was asking for homework. Ever the scholar, I went into every session being like, you're going to hand me some homework. You're going to teach me what I need to know so I'm not broken. And one of the things that she gave me led me to some random podcast about dating. Totally nothing that I like actually needed at that time. I was not in the dating game. I didn't want it, but I listened to one episode. And that one episode, the guest on it, no, the host, sorry, excuse me, the host said something about intuition. And as soon as I heard that word, something I had never heard in this particular context before, something clicked. And I felt like I had come home. And everything that had been from the time I was 3 till at the time I was probably like 28, 29. No, yeah, like 20, 27. Sorry. Um, I like it all made sense. And so I messaged her. I DM'd her and I said, I don't really care about this dating BS, but this intuitive stuff. Now that's where this is at. When and I certified as an intuitive within that next year, and that actually put me at about 2018. And I've been working as an intuitive and as a nurse. I still do both. I'm doing both. My business is an intuitive guidance wellness business that is all about reaching your highest potential and really truly understanding yourself. And so that's a long truncated version.
Well, something that often happens is people have that, well, you called it the dark side of the dark side of the soul, or for me it was the straw that broke this camel's back. It's always something that really nudges you in a direction or in a way that can start you on a journey. And it's not necessarily the next step on your journey, but it's just being introduced to somebody or doing something that you wouldn't have done. And it's always interesting what gets people nudged on or through that process that they do it. Otherwise we just carry on with the plans that we make and we just keep going, and then all of a sudden something happens. It's usually a bully somewhere along the line. you know
Isn't
as
it
horrible as
though?
they are, they have put a lot of people onto a different journey. And it's always fascinating is what's got somebody shifting where they're going and finding through that shift something that just clicks, that light bulb moment. Like you said, it was this through therapy, this, and the homework is this podcast with intuition, a dating podcast. Okay. But the thing is, it's such a random way. But when you look at it, it's what has got you there. And it's usually something has triggered you to, for you, it was going to therapy to deal with what was going on at work. And it was always fascinating how fate or divine intervention or whatever people believe in nudges you or pushes you into a direction that your life needs to take and turn. And when we listen to it and we like, okay, let's see where this is going and not fight it, it's really fascinating where we can end up. So you mentioning intuition and the healing, can you explain a little bit, especially for our listeners? They might not necessarily understand what intuition is, or it might be something that they're only just learning about. Can you explain a little bit what is intuition, but then also how do you incorporate it into healing? We're using a lot of words that are, shared and flung around quite a bit, but they're not necessarily understood. So I'd love it if you could just explain a little bit about it, just for those who maybe have an idea or are not sure. And then how do you heal and help people with intuition?
Yeah. So there are two levels of intuition. One is the animalistic intuition. It's the feeling in the pit of your stomach or up the back of your spine when you know that something is telling you not to go down that alley, not to take that right turn, not to go to that place with those people. That's the one that is biological. So it is always with everyone, but that particular level can be honed and sharpened to be used at any given moment. Usually this first level of intuition that we were just talking about is instinctual, truly. It doesn't come around every day. It's only when your life is in danger or when something really important needs to be done, when it feels like fate is pushing you to do something because otherwise you'll miss out. That is a like one off, the once in a blue moons. But that can be really turned into a useful tool. And this is the second level of intuition. And this is where you start hearing about the clairs, right? Quote unquote, the clairsentience, claircognizance, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairgustance, clairalience, right? Some people add in things like a clairempathy, right? It just depends. So, in my opinion, um, there are a lot of labels for a lot of things, but I think if you just understand that you have superpowers, then it kind of covers everything. So try not to overcomplicate it. Call them your superpowers. That's what they are. Now, everybody has usually to start off with one superpower that works best for them. For me, being that I was born this way, I came into this life with almost all of my clairs turned on. And so it was quite overwhelming for me, especially because I didn't have a teacher to help me focus them. I had to learn a rough form of focus and control around it. But usually what people will find is that they are either really good at clairvoyance. These are usually the people that when you tell them to visualize an apple, they see an apple in 3D in their mind. Like it's not even hard for them. They see the color, they see the shape of it, and usually turns and they can see it in that 3D. It's almost like a hologram, but better, right? Um, the people who have clairsentience, for example, I won't go through all of them, but just to give some people an idea, clairsentience is that I walk into a room and I know somebody was just having an argument in here. And I have some sort of an idea of what it is. It was probably two lovers that are having a lover's spat or lover's quarrel, right? Or somebody just passed away in this room. And so there's a lot of grief laden in here. They feel that. They know what that is, even if they don't know the people, right? And maybe they're feeling this going, this place feels old. Like this is a place that has held a lot of power. People gathered here, they worshiped here, they grieved here, they sacrificed here, right? They fought here. So these are the different things that can happen, and obviously there are different types of superpowers that people can have online. When you start to really work with and try to focus these inside of your being, you can bring more of them online. For me as a child, I had three, sometimes four, but three solidly working with me all the time: clairsentience, claircognizance, and clairaudience. Clairvoyance came when I was somewhere around middle school all the time. And prior to middle school, it was cursory. So that moment when I was talking about where I saw my friend fall from the monkey bars, that was like one of those rare moments where I was like, oh, this is happening and I'm seeing this. What is happening, right? More often than not, I just knew things. I just knew things and I couldn't explain why I knew them. I heard things that weren't actually being said. It was almost like I had this ability to read minds. Um, and then that feeling that I was just talking about, those were on all the time from the get. But what I end up teaching is how to, number one, bring more of them online, utilizing the ones that you have already active naturally from your soul space. Okay. And then to get to your point about how do you use these to heal? Well, we have two bodies. Okay, we have the energetic body and we have the physical body. The physical body is our vehicle. It is this cute little human shell of which we have chosen to incarnate into this time, into this particular life. But it is only that. It's only a vehicle. And it ends up being the holding space for our energetic body, which some people will call the spirit, some people will call the soul. There's lots of definitions we don't really have to get into in that case, but you understand. It's this form of energy that subsists and exists far outside of just this one little lifetime. And these two bodies, they talk to each other. When we are, as most people are, unaware of our energetic body, the energetic body is not unaware of you. So it always is trying to get you to be at your best. And when you ignore it, the energetic body only has one recourse. It's to mess up your physical body, which most people spend way too much time focusing on, or not enough sometimes. And so what happens? We end up developing physical manifestations, aka symptoms, aka disease, dis-ease, dysfunction. And once we can address what the energetic body is telling us, once we can hear it and speak to it in its own language, which is emotions, right? Then your body will follow your energy. So this is where some of the things that I really agree with Joe Dispenza on when he says, you know what, your physical body follows your energy. If you heal your energy, your physical body will heal with it. Now, there are caveats to this. Even Joe Dispenza has some holes he needs to plug. But that is really the essence of how you heal most things. There are caveats. There are things like chronic illnesses that have a little bit of a different flow within the energetic body and how things work with that. But that's really how people learn to heal utilizing these abilities.
Do you find that a lot of people have suppressed their superpowers, as you call them, and have learned to ignore them, whether it's through, as you said, you grew up, you born this way and you grew up, but you didn't have a teacher. I think a lot of people have these abilities, but they've either told, keep quiet, oh, don't be so weird, what's the matter with you, oh, that's not true, are you crazy, and then the threats of, got to take you to the doctor to check that you're not crazy or bad, or all these words that adults will most probably have said, or children are seen not heard. I mean, there's a plethora of things that we are told as children. So there's that suppression is, oh, I better keep quiet, or there's even the teasing and the bullying and the, you so weird, stop being so weird, especially at school if you say something or do something, and then the target. And then of course you suppress it, and then going into adulthood, to reconnect with that, to start to learn to listen to your intuition, even the gut intuition, like you said, that gut feeling of, I shouldn't do that. I know I've argued with that and totally ignored it, sometimes to my detriment, and I think sometimes I've just been really, really lucky. But the thing is we don't even listen to the gut and that strong instinct coming up. How are we going to listen to the quieter one? So it's, have you come across a lot of people who have like suppressed it in a way, but now wanting to reconnect with that part of themselves, because realizing that just because we're focusing on the physical doesn't mean that we're whole, and wanting to have that experience, or just start to disengage the brain, and I'm saying that with three sort of people who love neuroscience in the room, is turn that off and start listening to the gut brain or the heart brain, or whatever it is, but put that voice off. And just because, don't go down that dark alley, but it's quicker to get home, and I need to get home because I got to feed the kids, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, so shush up, I'm off. Or it's like, okay, maybe let me take the long way around, let me listen to what I'm saying, there's a reason I feel like that. The kids are not gonna die if they're fed 5 minutes later. They'll survive, life will be okay if I go a different route. Is this something that you're now starting to find, that people are open to really connecting with that more, I guess, the woo-woo side and the more energetic side of them?
Yeah, I see it all the time. In fact, my mom was my very first client. She was a lot like me when she was a kid, and I love that you bring up that, kids are usually told to, better seen, not heard, to sit down, to be quiet, to stop being so weird. All of those things were said to me. I like everything that you were saying there. I was like, oh, that was my childhood. That was right there. But the thing is I was just too stubborn. Way too stubborn. And I just said, no, that's not going to be me. That's not me this lifetime. Didn't realize until much later that there was a reason for that. But my mom, though, grew up in a very different time. And out of survival for herself, she did shut everything off. And so as I really started learning the language that I needed to explain to people who and what I was, she became more activated. And then she started wanting to learn. And then as I was teaching her, all of her gifts started coming back online. And I find now is that, yes, you have exactly right. People have suppressed it. They either were similar to me as a kid, or they had some feeling like something just wasn't right. The histories they were being told, it just wasn't right, or there was something missing. The magic was missing from the world for that. And um and now they're, as an adult, they're coming to this realization that people are talking about these things, and some of these things resonate with them. Now, the sad part for me is that even though they were doing all of this out of protection for themselves, the earth and this universe didn't stop to wait for them. And so all of these people, we've had multiple waves, the last one being around 2017, 2018, where there's this large wave of people awakening. We're going to go through another one, are going through another wave right now. These individuals that are coming into this wave are going, oh my gosh, look at what I can do. I can manifest. There's this thing called the law of attraction and all these things. But the problem that I'm finding is that because the earth didn't wait for them, it kept evolving, right? It kept changing, it kept advancing. The things that these individuals are learning that are just awakening, they're like, ooh, the chakras, let's talk about it. The chakras aren't the things that they're learning now about the chakras, zipping up the chakras, learning about the chakras individually. Those things don't work anymore. They're useless, essentially. It's like having a phone that is the 1.0 version, but Apple has released the 6.6 edition, right? Now, I don't want to say that to discourage people. I just want people to know that they need to really be seeking out those individuals that are saying, I hear you. I'm meeting you where you're at. I will teach you the basics, but I'm going to teach you the basics in a way that is going to help you move into this 6.6 version at a rate that will not burn you out, will not fry your systems, will not discourage you. You need to also understand that energy has shifted, the protocols have shifted, the techniques have shifted. So you need to be letting go some of those old, outdated techniques because new ones have come in to replace them. So it's not even that you have to learn those old ways. You need to learn the ways that work now. So things like doing the gratitude practices, like I was talking about, yes, that still has merit, but there is a way to make it more powerful now because time space is slipperier than it used to be. So thoughts that are our the creator of our reality, you have to be more focused and more intentional about it. The words that you use, the intention with which you say it. Lenka brought up a great point. Having gratitude, even for the things that you don't yet have, but having gratitude for it as if you have it, that is absolutely pivotal. But what are most people doing that is making this practice not work for them? They're just faking it till they make it. They're just saying, I'm really grateful for the fact that I have a roof over my head. But if you really were to tap in, like for me, I sit and say, okay, so take me through your gratitude practice. And so then they're talking to me about it and they're going through what it is. And I'm feeling into their energy. And I'm like, there's a disconnect here. You're saying that you're grateful for your house, but really all you can think about is the fact that your neighbor has a house that has a much bigger yard than yours. So you're saying that you're grateful for this, but the universe is not stupid. It has advanced even though you came to the party a little late. Don't worry, you can run to catch the bus and you can be on this train with us. Absolutely. We're not going to leave you behind if you want to be here with us. But you have to be very honest and very clear about the fact that, yeah, you have a little bit of envy about your neighbor's yard. You have to be okay with being aware of that, of honoring that feeling. And then every emotion has an action that it's requiring for you to be able to move through into a higher positive outcome of the emotion. And if you learn what that action is and you perform it, then you don't have to worry about the emotion. It's not going to keep you stuck. It's not going to keep you down. What you're going to do is you're actually going to elevate yourself up into the next better place. So then that gratitude that you are working on, it actually makes sense because now you're not just having gratitude for random things in your life. I could be grateful for this blanket, right? But why be grateful for the blanket when I can be grateful for my heat, right? And really truly be like, no, dang, like I'm really grateful for this, right? So that's the difference, right? There are these old, outdated practices that we do have to let go of. And there are a number of healers, energy workers, light workers, whatever titles they want to hold, that are still practicing and still teaching these old, outdated practices. And then people who are learning are wondering why they don't work and are falling into this trap of believing that it's just hokey woo-woo nonsense. And they just need to hustle harder. They just need to fall back into these old patriarchal patterns that are actually breaking. At one point they worked. You could hustle and you could make a lot of money and you could get into the life that you wanted. But that system no longer works now. Once again, the earth has evolved, the energy has evolved. And so now it's much different. And so you can't just fall back into that hustle culture because it's not going to work. So that's it's a it can be very empowering. I want this to be empowering for you, knowing that this is not the end. This is the beginning. This is the greatness of it. You get to bypass all of this stuff that actually slowed some people down, made it a little bit harder. You get to step into this advanced space of gloriousness that produces true victory in your life, no matter what type of life you want to have.
It's amazing listening to you and really taking it in. And you really kind of touch on something that I've been feeling and I've been thinking about a lot recently. It's for me, a lot of the past couple of years have been about belief. Like believe what I'm capable of, believe what's out there. But I also got to a point of knowing, like, feeling that belief is not the right word or not enough. That we can believe in all sorts of things. And this again goes back to Bruce and Lipton, the power of belief. But it's almost as it's the intentionality in there. But also the next level for me is the conviction. It's not like just belief, it's the reassuring conviction of like, I don't want to say just believe, but it's the conviction that it is what it is, and this is how it is, this is how it's gonna be. And a very simple example for me, it's I've always believed that, I'm reasonably healthy, I have an immune system, I rarely get sick, but I've always had this like, oh, maybe once a year I had a little bit of a cold, just to reboot the system. And this year, or the past couple of years, I've been doing a lot of more cold exposure and really like doing good things for my body. But this year specifically, I've been absolutely living in this. I don't know if it's oblivious, if it's, whatever we want to call it, in this conviction that I'm not getting sick. Like, my body does not accept cold, my body does not accept flu, my body does not accept any bacteria, viruses. All sorts of people around me can get COVID, can get sick, can get this, I can be exposed to them. But my body just does not accept that I do not get sick. And so far, I've been flying through absolutely like not getting sick at all. And that really got me to like not just believing that I'm a healthy person, I'm doing good stuff. It's just this complete conviction that I'm not getting ill. So I love that you were talking about like genuinely the 1%, exactly as you talked about it, like the 1% method, the 1% improvement, just going even better, even more. But yet, again, it's not more difficult. It's not like I'm doing more for myself. It's just this little switch in the mind. And I loved everything that you've been talking about.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I love the word conviction. I usually use the word no, right? But conviction, I love it. It's a very powerful word, right? It takes you outside of belief into this space where this is your truth and you don't accept anything but your truth. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have little stumbles or something. There might be days when you wake up and you're like, huh, I'm a little congested. But you're like, you know what though? But my body is healthy. It doesn't accept that. So you get up, you drink some water, you go take a shower, and voila, your sinuses have opened up and you're totally fine. Whereas most people would jump into this, oh, I'm stuffy. And then they schlop out of bed and they kind of make it even more of a thing about the fact that they couldn't believe that they woke up like this. And all of a sudden now their energy is starting to knock, going, hold on, wait. But they can't hear it. They can't hear their energy body talking to them. They don't recognize it for what it is. And so then, of course, the energy body goes, no, I need you to pay attention. So now we're gonna, if you're only gonna be focused on your nose and this stuffiness, well, then I guess we're really gonna make this a presence known. And all of a sudden now your nose is just runny and it's sort of congested, and now you're running for the Afrin, and all of these things, right? So yeah, conviction is the new, it's the new space that you have to get to. And it does take time, and it does take practice, and it does take the affirmations, and it does for some people take guidance, right? I love that there are so many individuals that are coming to this on their own. But for those people who, maybe they are that top Olympian, but they're like, I just don't. What is it that keeps making me have this tendonitis? What is it that keeps holding me back from my best time? What is holding me back from truly bringing in all of these people into my retreat spaces or selling on my conference? And not only that, but then being able to actually perform at these spaces, to be present in these spaces, and then be able to go home afterward and not just fall completely apart because now you're sicker than a dog, right? This is the thing that I have like honed in onto, the like my zone of genius. This is like the good, this is the good stuff for me, where I'm like, no, let's get you to a place where you understand what is happening to you and for you in such a way that you actually bypass all of the obstacles. Because so many people ask that question. Well, did I have to have, some sexual assault on me for me to learn to let go of the toxic man? Did I have to lose my home in order to understand that I have everything I need? Did I have to go through that horrible natural disaster to have gratitude and empathy for people who have lesser than I do? Yeah, you absolutely can bypass all of that. I don't believe for 1 second that people actually have to go through hard shit. I don't. I absolutely do not stand for it. I think that that's nonsense. And the fact that we as a society, a global society, would sit and say, no, the only way in which you can learn empathy is by going through something hard. The only way that you can learn gratitude is by having some form of loss. That to me sounds so nonsensical. Now, it does sound nonsensical to me, but I also understand that, yeah, all of that's true. There are a number of people out in the world that they need that in order to learn it. But I'm telling you that there's also a great amount of people out there that you don't have to. And if you want to get to that space where you're like, nah, I would rather not. It does take some work. It's not this place where you just get to be like, and poof, all of my obstacles go away. No, you still have to learn, but how you learn changes. Instead of learning through something, you learn about, over, and around it. You encompass it. So instead of it influencing you, you influence it. This is the difference between being a novice or an intermediate to being a master at your craft, right? The sculptor sculpts the David, not the David being like, oh, I'll dig my way out of this marble, right? So it really truly becomes, what are you willing to do? How are you willing how much creativity and curiosity are you willing to pull out of yourself? Are you willing to be innovative within your own self and learn about yourself in a whole new way, and to be okay with change and evolution and excitement about these things, right? Some people are going to find that, yes, they are so activated by this and they're like, how do I start? Or where do I start right now? Right? Other people are going to be like, no, not for me, not this time. And that's okay. That's okay. There is no wrong path. Everybody will get to the same end eventually.
It's almost like you talking about sovereignty and personal responsibility is, unfortunately, as you said, it can't just poof and it happens. It's we actually have to make the decision and then put in the effort. It's not just a magic pill and voila, it's all done. And it's taking that responsibility. So it's not relying on other people to fix you or to get you to where you need to go, but it's taking that responsibility and being sovereign for yourself and saying, okay, I want to take it to the next step. What do I need to do it? And like you also said about, the cold, and do I go into I feel sorry for myself and then go to the doctors and get some antibiotics? I know then they're no good for a cold, but you get antibiotics anyway. I will rely on the doctor to make me feel better instead of like, okay, hang on a minute. Why is this coming? What can I do to help myself to get over it in a way? Or if it's coming out, what aren't I listening to? What aren't I learning? What can I do better? What do I need to change? Because why am I getting this? And it's not necessarily something as simple as went outside in the cold and got damp. It could be why is my back sore? The doctor can't fix it. The physio's not fixing it. They wrong, they bad, they just useless. They've not been able to fix it. But okay, why? Is it because I'm not doing something? Is there an emotion I'm not acknowledging to myself? Is there something I'm not saying or doing because I'm suppressing it? Or am I just not going and getting a different chair that I need? Or what it is, it's taking responsibility for yourself and finding, okay, how can I help make myself better, but also help myself to grow, to develop more, to have a more of an understanding? And as you said in the beginning, it's identity. Learn yourself. I mean, yeah, we can all go around and go, yeah, but you like that, you like that, you like that. I mean, I had a mother who told me I should be like everybody else but myself, and, all the shouldings. But I can wait for people to tell me who I am, or I can take responsibility and go, actually, this is who I am, having learned, find a way to learn it. So I love how you're bringing that in, because you're right, there is a change happening. There's a huge global change, energetic change, universal change, God-wise change, spirit change, whatever it is. There's huge changes happening. And I think part of that is us as humans. We are also having to change. We look at history, we just followed, and you mentioned that patriarchy worked at one time. It's not working anymore. How can I help myself to move forward? It's not, I can't wait for my husband to fix things. Yeah, I can wait for him to fix a light bulb, but I can't wait for him to fix me. I can't wait for him to make me feel better. Or I can't expect Lenka to tell me what directions to go in, or anything. It's up to me to do it. But yes, sometimes we do need that help. As you said, sometimes we can do it on our own, and sometimes we need that guide. We need that person to say, are you really being honest with yourself? Are you really doing the homework that you say you're doing? We do need that. And just because we have the help doesn't mean that we're not being responsible if we're using the help and allowing the help to happen. Like you said, athletes, Olympians have coaches. It's you can have the help. You can do it on your own, and you can have the help. And we've had many guests who have said, I've gone on my own and then I had help to get me further. It's, or I found ways to do it myself, but then we get somebody to come in. And I think we can do both. We can do one or the other. It very much depends on who you are. And I love how you're bringing that in. Is there, now for our listeners, and they're listening and thinking, this is starting to hit the right note for me, is there something that they can just get started with? Is just something that, like a top tip, or just a little bit, just to get them started? Just how can they take that next step for them? Just something to help them on their way, whether this is beginning of the journey, or whether they sort of on the journey but just need that little bit, a little sort of just a bit of a help for them.
I'll give you two things. One that's a little bit more like amorphous for those who are like, I just need, I can do it. Just like give me the place to like start. And then I'll also give you one that's very specific. So for those people that are like, no, like seriously, like just like homework, please. Question one. What does it say? Um, the first is that going to be that very specific thing. Brene Brown's Atlas of the Heart. Why? It's not because I think that she's a great writer. It's not because I think that she is this amazingly brilliant researcher, although I do. But the reason for that book specifically, I'm not talking about any of her other books. They're great, but in this case, what it is that I would want people to do is that book specifically because it talks specifically about emotions more than just the basic five. This is the start, everyone. You have to be able to understand the language that your energetic body speaks in order to be able to get ahead of your health and healing and allow yourself to reach cleaner and clearer mindsets and more focus and higher energy levels. If you don't know how your energetic body speaks to you, then it's almost impossible to get to the root of things because the emotions are truly what it is that's going on. Now, the symptoms of your body, those are just distractions. Those are just distractions, but most people pay way too much attention to them, acting as if that's your body's way of talking to you. It's not. You're not feeling tired because you need to rest. We are infinite beings of light. Why would we need to rest? Like you could if you chose to. Like choice is brilliant. That's like why we're here. Like, and I love how you mentioned sovereignty. Yes, 100%. I couldn't agree with you more. But you should be able to be sovereign in your choice to take a nap, not be like, well, I have to take a nap because I went and pushed myself too hard today. You see the difference? So when you understand how your body actually is talking to you, your energetic body is actually talking to you, then you can move into the next stage of things. So for those who are looking for something very specific to do, get Atlas of the Heart by Brene Brown and read it and maybe reread it. I would say get it together with a book club, and I want you guys to talk about each emotion. I want you to really delve into how does this emotion present in your body? Because anger presents differently in everybody's body. Depression and sadness, it presents differently in everybody's body. Paradox ends up being different in each of our bodies, right? Resentment, contempt, right? It all shows up in your body at some point in some way. But you have to understand how it shows up. Where does it live inside of your body specifically? Talk about it, bring it out, understand it. Ask the question, what is it that I need to do? What action is this emotion asking me to do in order to get over it, through it, around it, how to elevate it? I'll give you guys an example. Sadness, a lot of people will isolate. This is not the action that you need to take when you feel sadness. If you isolate, that sadness only grows. But when you feel sadness, you want to honor that sadness by reaching out and finding community. It's seeking community that is the action that you need to take in order to dispel and dispense and to elevate that feeling of sadness, right? And there are different levels to this, right? For those who want this more like a little bit more vagary and they want to kind of like go about for themselves, I would say that they need to really get into this space of very deep curiosity about what it is that they are meant to do. And this is going to end up bringing you to a couple of different avenues at which you can play with. When you are really aware of what it is that you're meant to do in this life, what it is that you feel passionate about, you have no choice but to address the emotions that are coming along with this. You really don't have an option. It just happens naturally. But it also really pushes you into action. And it does this quite simultaneously. And what this does is this activates your energetic centers in a way that's incredibly in one single funnel. I I don't want to use the word alignment because I don't want people to get it confused. It's not about getting into alignment. It's about you need one clean, clear energy center that is connected between earth, your higher self, and source, and allowing for all of this to come through in one clean, clear line. And so, what ends up happening when you're able to get yourself really clear on what it is that you are meant to do, that allows for you to, like I said, get into your emotions, get into the actions that you need to do, get yourself into receiving in one clean, clear line. And what ends up happening is the distance between divine inspiration at your crown, right, and the physical manifestation at your root happens within seconds. So no longer then do you have to deal with worry, doubt, fear, procrastination. All of a sudden, consistency starts building because you say, okay, if this is what it is that I'm meant to do, this is what it is that I'm passionate about. You stop making excuses for why you didn't work out today. If you want to be that top Olympian, you have to work out every day in some shape or form, even if it's an active rest day, right? If you want to be the, I don't know, best entrepreneur out there, if you want to raise the best herb garden, I love that example, by the way. If you want to have the best herb garden, then you have to buy books, you have to buy the tools, you have to plan out how you're going to plant that garden. Every single day, you put energy towards that. The consistency then breeds discipline, it breeds mastery, and it breeds a want that turns into knowing and that conviction that Lenka was talking about.
Such wonderful advice for our listeners. Thank you so much. It's just, to get started. And yeah, I love that book. Well, Lenka and I both love Brené Brown, but yeah, I think we've both got that book as well. So yes, I think it's time to reread the book. Hop on to our Patreon account to get this episode's amazing and wonderful gold nugget. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. I'm sure it's morning where you are. Thank you for your energy, for your wisdom, and for that really juicy gold nugget. Now, if our listeners are listening and they're thinking, "Whoa, I need me some Abigail. I need to connect with her. I need to be in her circle or find ways." Where can people find you?
Yeah, so the one place that you can find me always is Instagram. I'm at breath of life underscore healer, and it's got a blue check mark, so you'll know it's me. And that's where you can reach out to me. I invite you into my DMs. Please, 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 please slide on in. Ask me what it is to be in my world, and ask all the questions, and let me learn about you. Like, this is a two-way street. This is a dialogue and a conversation, and I'm all about that. And I love interacting with people and answering questions and having thoughts, just thought moments. I think of my Instagram as kind of like a mini think tank, where we can all just really impress one another and like push each other and challenge each other. And it's just such a beautiful space. Right now, I have my signature course, Mind Over Matter, which is running, and it'll be on sale again, like a new cohort will be joining me in January, so that's open for registration. And that can be found at my website, www.breathoflifellc.com. And then, of course, if you're looking for a smaller container that you're really interested in, you just want to get some proximity for a really, really like can't say no price. I have a 21-day mini mind where I actually take you through a lot of what we've been talking about and discussing, really honing our skills, our superpowers, really understanding how do we lead each other? How do we lead ourselves authentically? And with that conviction, that sovereignty, how is it that we get to this space where we're utilizing energy management in a way that will not leave us depleted, grounded, will not leave us fried, will have us reaching our peak potential and our peak performance, regardless of what it is that you need that higher level energy and functionality for. And always, 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 for me, it always comes down to your healing and your health and really being at your top performance inside of your physical body. To me, if you're healthy, if you know how to heal, you can do anything. You can do anything. So it all comes back to that for me. And that you just DM me. You can either DM me at just straight up asking me about it, or if you DM me the word mini mind, then I will send you the pay link for it and drop you in and send you the welcome email. So those would be the ways.
Thank you so much. And of course, we'll have all the links down in the description so people can go and click on and connect with you. Thank you so much again for today. It's been really fascinating to speak with you, to get your perspective and just be in your energy for a few moments and just really almost, I wouldn't say speaking my language, but this is something that I'm just passionate about, and it's been wonderful to have you here. So thank you so much for being here. And for our listeners, what have you got from today? Is this like, oh, yes, I want to take that step further. I want to have that conviction. I want to go that extra mile or find that extra senses, learn about my emotions. Or are you a little bit like, oh, hang on a minute. No, I'm not quite ready for that. Both ways are fine. Just listen, just give yourself that space. Just start to listen to what is your gut saying to you? What is your heart saying to you? And sometimes just turn that brain off. Yeah, I know for the neuroscience people out there, I know I love using my brain, but sometimes we just got to listen to and start to feel what it is that's going on. We would love to know your thoughts on what you've got from this episode today. We've talked about things we haven't spoken about before, but we've also talked about things that we have spoken about before. We'd love to know your thoughts, and just, are you ready to take that next step, that higher level of meditating, of the gratitude, of manifesting? Or are you on the beginning journey and you've just learned that there were 7 chakras and now you've been told that there are more? Just share with us. Let us know, and we'd love for you to follow, subscribe, and give us your feedback. And until next time, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.